Good morning. Please stand or if you're able and join us for the first opening hymn. It's number 1000 in your teal hymnal. And the words will be up there.
When that storm comes, don't run for cover. When that storm comes, don't run for cover. When that storm comes, don't run for cover. Don't run from the coming storm, 'cause there ain't no use in running when that rain falls. Let it wash away when that rain falls. Let it wash away when that rain falls. Let it wash away, let it wash away that falling rain, the tears and the trouble. When those lights flash, you hear that thunder roar. When those lights flash, you hear that thunder roar. When those lights flash, you hear that thunder roar. Will you listen to that thunder roar and let your spirit soar? Let your spirit soar. Will you open up your door when that love calls? Will you open up your door when that love calls? Will you open up your door? You gotta stand on up and let it in. You gotta let love through your door when that storm comes.
Storm coming, yeah.
Don't run for cover when that storm comes. Don't run for cover when that storm comes.
Storm coming, yeah.
Don't run run for cover. No. Don't run from the coming storm, 'cause you can't keep a storm from coming. No. You can't keep a storm from coming. No, no. You can't keep a storm from coming. You can't keep a storm from coming. No, no. You can't keep a storm from coming. Coming, coming, coming.
We have chosen to bring ourselves here to this sanctuary to gather as a community of faith. We join together in solidarity as a covenanted people who are drawn together by the promise of connection and the mysterious pull of the unanswerable. We draw on experiences of love and wonder to lift our hearts and move us beyond the mundane.
As seekers, wanderers, appreciators of nature, connoisseurs of curiosity, and creators of connection, our paths have converged today so that we might become present to the spirit that is worship. And so, let us worship together.
The word courage comes from the Latin cur, which means heart. According to poet Mark Nepo, the original use of the word courage meant to stand by one's core, a, quote, striking concept that reinforces the belief found in almost all traditions that living from the center is what enables us to face whatever life has to offer.
To encourage means to harden, to impart strength and confidence. This is our work as a religious community, to encourage one another, to be bold in engaging the world around us, as well as what scares us internally, to give one another the confidence and heart to live as fully as possible.
With full hearts, we affirm our relationships with one another. We recognize our agency and our connective power, and we accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous. We light this chalice, symbol of all that we are, all that we have done together, and all that we will be as our shared ministry encourages those within and beyond our walls. So good morning. Oh yeah, okay. Good morning on this crisp morning at the intersection of all of the spring breaks in our area. It is so good to see you. Welcome to the Inu River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, or ERUUF, as we like to say. I'm the Reverend Jim Lewis, Minister of Lifespan Faith Development and Pastoral Care, and whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your race, your gender identities, or whomever you love, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, or in your search for truth, meaning, and liberation, you are welcomed here in beloved community. If you are visiting with us today, I invite you to rise in body or spirit so that we might give you an ERUUF welcome. Anybody out there, their first or second time? Good to see you. Hello, welcome. Lovely to see you, some of you again. Thank you for choosing to spend your Sunday morning with us, whether this is your first or second time, or this is your 20 millionth time. Maybe not that high of a number, might be an exaggeration. But you know, we've been here a while. We're getting close to our 60th anniversary. So if you're watching on the live stream and you have access to the chat, I invite you to place your name there, and someone will welcome you online. Now, if you are visiting with us and you have children with you today, they are welcome to stay with you or to join our children and youth for religious exploration activities in the care building. If they didn't already get name tags at the RE welcome table by the office, you can get those at any time between now and when the children leave after the time for all ages. Also, everyone is invited to attend our Inquirers classes for newcomers and visitors, which take place in between services at 10 a.m. So that's in the past today, right? So you can't go to today's because it happened at 10, although some of you did go to it because I saw you there. Now, this will be a good thing to double check because I don't see Michael Gilbert Singletary in the room. And I know next week we will only have one service at 11. So if you want to come next week to that, you might want to double check just to make sure it's happening. But there, you learn about us, and you're welcome to share something about yourself. If you have a child who might be going to RE later, you can pick them up after the class, but there is childcare during those classes. 4 very quick notes about things coming up. 1, the ERUUF Pulse Survey is wrapping up tomorrow. What's the Pulse Survey? It is an important way that you can give us feedback about ERUUF, and you give it to the ministers and the ERUUF leadership. So if you haven't filled that out, it goes away tomorrow. It's been open for a while, so please go find that in your e-news or on the website if you have not filled it out. We want to hear from you. 2, ERUUF's 60th anniversary celebration is now in full stride, and it is amping up in April with a lot of special events. Take a look at the website or at the e-news and get registered for stuff coming up. We want to have some good times with y'all. There's some learning, so please get signed up for stuff. Then today at 4 p.m., our Separation of Church and State group will be co-hosting a speaker about Christian nationalism being on the rise in North Carolina and what can you do. That speaker is Brandon Rensher, and Brandon is here. Brandon, if you want to wave or give us a quick stand. This is Brandon. He's going to be talking later. So if you feel excited about that, Brandon, who is a minister and community organizer, please stop by for that at 4 p.m. in the fellowship hall later today. Good topic for right now. And next Sunday, this is our final one, we'll have our annual flower communion next Sunday, only an 11 a.m. service. Tell your friends at the 9 a.m. service because I forgot to tell them. Only an 11 a.m. service next week. Everybody is invited to bring a flower from your garden or elsewhere. Children and youth will be with us in that time, and will participate in song and the co-creation of community here on the chancel together. Now would be a great time to turn off or down to worship mode. Any devices you may have. Every once in a while I sit on my phone and it turns the sound on. Good, it's off. We'll take a deep breath in and let it out.
It's time for all ages, and you already are coming down. I was going to invite the smaller and the mediumest and the tallest, and you're already on your way. Thank you for coming. Children young at heart, come on down. You can do it. Good morning. Good to see you all. They're still coming. Oh, uh-oh. I'm humming. Good to see you. So today we're going to be reading How Do Dinosaurs Learn to Be Kind? And it's by Jane Yolen and Mark Teague. And we're reading this. Oh, I have some of my dearest coming down. Thank you for joining us. So we're going to be talking about, in the service, about paying attention to one another in our ERUUF community, and also thinking about that in the wider community. And when we pay attention to one another, we know what others might need. So let's see. How do dinosaurs learn to be kind? How does a dinosaur learn to be kind? Does he roar about everything that's on his mind? Does he ride his bike fast, making other bikes fall? Ooh. Does he then turn around and just laugh at them all? Ooh. How do they look? Look at their faces. Yeah. Does he splash in the tub till brother cries out? Does he pull up the plug, leaving brother in drought? Do you know what drought means?
I know.
You do? What is it?
It means no water.
No water. That's right. There he is in the tub. No water. Does he hide Grandpa's cane in a faraway bush? Now, this next one I like a lot. Does he give Grandma's wheelchair a fast, silly push? Now, look at Grandma's face. Does she look like she's what?
Happy.
She's happy, but, okay, so, but is it safe? No. All right, there you go. Does he stomp in huge puddles to make a big mess? No. They don't look very happy. No. Does he spill his ice cream on Mama's new dress? Oh, goodness. Okay. Does he hide Daddy's pencils and papers and pens? Does he tell silly stories about all of his friends? Ooh. Getting there. Does he wake up at midnight and make lots of noise? Oh my goodness. Does he steal his big sister's new shoes and her toys? No! A dinosaur knows how to be very kind and always keep other folks firmly in mind. His brother and father, they both call him sweet. He helps both his grands cross the busiest street. He's kind to his friends and his neighbors and more. What of a one-of-a-kind, very kind dinosaur. There you go. So, now it's time for you to go on to your religious exploration classes and pay attention to each other and be kind. Thank you for listening.
Peace, salam, shalom. 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 Take a minute to greet your neighbors.
So did anyone make it to a No Kings rally? Come on, let's see the hands. All right, these are my people. My name is Betsy Bickle. Good morning. I work with the Earth Justice team here at ERUUF, and I'm going to begin with a quote from an article by Acharya Prasant. Biocapacity is what Earth can renew in a year. Forests regrowing, fish stocks replenishing, soil healing, carbon absorbed. Ecological footprint is what humanity consumes: food, water, land, energy, and waste. When footprint exceeds biocapacity, we enter ecological overshoot. Humanity crossed that line in the early 1970s and has remained beyond it since. The Stockholm Resilience Center identifies 9 planetary boundaries that define a safe operating space for civilization. 6 have already been breached. Climate change, biosphere collapse through extinction, deforestation, nitrogen phosphorus pollution, the spread of synthetic chemicals, and freshwater disruption. Unquote. Yesterday I saw another article about a new study that showed that the US alone is responsible for $30 trillion worth of damage to the climate since 1994. It is imperative that we change our ways. This is why I work with Earth Justice. We aim to help the congregation be part of the solution to these problems through education, service, and advocacy. We spearheaded the effort to get ERUUF certified as a green sanctuary, installing solar panels and instituting composting as part of our stewardship. You can see the results of those initiatives on the Green Sanctuary dashboard, which is on the website. We partner with other ERUUF groups and outside organizations to do plantings, cleanups, film showings, plant-based potlucks, book discussions, green landscaping events, recycling events, clothes swaps, and many other projects. This Friday, we had 19 people for a conversation and talks about our fragile food system. Usually we do a lot in April around Earth Day, but this year we've sort of spread our activities out to make room for anniversary activities. But we will do the worship service at the end of April, and we have events coming up in May. We hope that you will join us for an event or to get involved in some way that lights you up. These challenges concern all of us, and it will take all of us to meet them. Please stop by the table at the fellowship hour and say hello and see how you can be part of the solution. Thank you.
I'm Alan Hollister.
And I've been coming here since the very beginning. Our parents were founding members of this fellowship. So
I too heard my parents talking about forming a fellowship back in 1965 when we first moved here.
Gosh, I mean, one of my earliest memories is going to this big old house in South Durham And I used to carry my mother's coffee and tea set from the trunk of her car into this place so that she could serve tea and coffee after the service.
The one Unitarian sacrament that we have. My favorite memories really are coming back and seeing the many iterations, getting to meet most of the ministers that have served here. Being part of the music program and singing in the choir has been a real inspiration to me, and I've enjoyed that a lot.
We did a year study, and then we set up the Healthy Congregation Committee. So I was on that for probably 5 years.
Yeah, I've been on the board and the co-chair of the pledge campaign in past years, and then sung in the choir and was a founding member of the folk group that performs regularly.
Tell us a little bit about the Memorial Garden and your parents' connection to that.
Outside was a circular driveway, and they decided that they would get rid of the driveway. And in this circular middle part, they would establish a place for ashes to be placed. And they wanted to do a memorial garden. And Mom and Dad put up, I don't remember how much money it was, but enough money to build the stone walls that are out there so that that garden could be established. And that was what brings me back. Oh gosh, this is the spiritual home for me. I get solace, I get prompting, I get memories, I get an opportunity to serve. And all of that has come through this church for me. It's been very important to me in my life.
There are a lot of personal memories. My mother donated the grand piano, so every time that gets played, there's a memory there for me. So that's part of it. I come, though, I think, personally to be transformed and be called to a higher self, but also for the people.
Oh, I would say keep the faith, keep your liberalism, keep your beliefs, keep your activism, get engaged, do good work.
I would say come prepared to be transformed. This is a place where you can learn about yourself as well as about religious traditions.
Well, we'll have a super duper sermon that just clarifies issues, clarifies dilemmas and problems, helps me to think through where I stand and what I need to do vis-a-vis that problem. And
some of them, the ones that I think I respond most to, are those that challenge you to greater understanding or to a new understanding of existing problems.
And my favorite part of every service is the kids' stories. You all should know that I'm the one that got the handsome genes.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got all the smart genes.
I would like to share the fact that everyone needs a place where they can be themselves, where they can build connections, where they can serve their community. And this has been the place, the most important place for me, and it can be for you as well.
I agree. This is an opportunity to learn and grow yourself, but also to provide that same opportunity to others. It makes it possible for others to discover for themselves what we have here.
I invite you to find the most comfortable way of being where you are in your seat, at home. Perhaps you let your feet touch the floor. Perhaps, if you are comfortable, you close your eyes or let them lose focus. And hold these words for meditation today. in this time of deepening. In this community, we hold hope close. We don't always know what comes next, but that cannot dissuade us. We don't always know just what to do, but that will not mean that we are lost in the wilderness. We rely on the certainty beneath the foundation of our values and ethics. We are the people who return to love like a north star, and to that truth that we are greater together than we are alone. Our hope does not live in some glimmer of an indistinct future. Rather, we know the way to the world of which we dream, and by covenant and the movement forward of one right action and the next, we know that one day we will arrive at home. Every week, we also hold in our hearts the joys and concerns of this community, be they global, local, or among those of us here in our ERUUF community. This morning, we hold concerns and challenges in the broader world. We hold all those affected by ongoing conflict, including ongoing conflict that our country has had a part in starting, even if we do not agree with it. We hold all of those nationally feeling fear and actually impacted by recent government policies targeted at marginalized communities, at immigrants, at trans folks, at people of color. We hold those who are feeling the impact of those policies and are fearful because policies are coming up in other places in the country and may travel to us. We hold Joan Tillman in her grief at the death of her elder brother, Charles Joseph Tillman, who made his transition yesterday. Let us now take a breath as we hold these concerns amidst those concerns that remain unspoken. And let us also take a moment to hold all those joys and possibilities that lay before us in life. I hold the joy and possibility in knowing that many folks went to a No Kings protest yesterday, and that protesting may lead to the building of relationships, and that building of relationships can lead to more engagement in creating the world that we dream is true. More engagement and more engagement in creating that change. Let us hold all of these joys, and I ask you now to bring to mind and heart and spirit a joy or possibility that you hold within yourself, and hold that dearly. Now let us take all of these unspoken and spoken joys in our hearts as we take one more breath together. May we continue to share warmth and kindness throughout these moments on our journey.
Our meditation hymn is Be Still and Breathe. The words are up above, and you can stay seated. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to heartache. Listen to grief. Be still and breathe.
Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to anger. Listen to heart. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to beauty. Listen to grace. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to you. Listen to me. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Be still and breathe. Be still and be.
Good morning. When I sat down this week to write a reflection about paying attention, I thought I could use myself as an object lesson. Figured I could list all the times I didn't pay attention, and then suffered the consequences. Then I realized using the times I did pay attention would be a shorter list, and a list with items less painful to recall. So in the end, I decided to share a sprinkling of each. I know many of you, like me, are in chalice circles. When I came to ERUUF about 10 years ago, joining a covenant group was one of the first things I did. It's a decision based on years of positive experiences in my previous congregation. Chalice circles, or small group ministry, is one of the places where deep listening, a powerful form of paying attention, is practiced. It has been described as listening to understand, as opposed to listening to reply that we do practice in everyday conversations. For me, a corollary skill to paying attention and deep listening is silent discernment. I'm not one of those people who go through their days filling it up with casual conversations. Instead, large chunks of my time are spent in contemplating the lessons I've learned, replaying the videos in my head, appreciating new insights, and then relishing the hidden connections between events. Through listening to others, I learn about the fabric of life and the power of life, of love to hold us together. But life also taught me a hard lesson about not paying attention. I'm not going to tell the whole story this morning. I went online and checked, and surprisingly, the audio of my 2018 Spiritual Odyssey presentation is still online. That's where I talk about these learnings. The short version, though, that I'll share this morning is that while dealing with the chronic healthcare needs of one of my children, I stopped paying attention to the other. Actually, I was heaping a lot of surface-level attention on that second child. Her successes and apparent lack of need made giving those atta-girl responses seem right, and allowed me to feel good about myself. But because I was not really paying attention, what I was doing was hurting rather than helping. Paying attention, I learned, means listening, and not just with your ears, but also with your head and your heart. Then giving back what the other really needs. Often this will be different from what serves your needs in that moment. Silent discernment can help determine what of yourself and when to share. And that was a lesson I was reminded of this week. Thinking about covenant groups and meeting the needs of others brought to mind Joyce Boucheron, who, as you know, organized pastoral care for years here at ERUUF. Joyce and I shared a covenant group for over a decade. Thus, literally hundreds of times, I got to deep listen as she shared her insights on life. When she passed, I wrote a tribute called The Church Mouse, as she was always humbly scurrying about in the background, getting things done with her quiet efficiency, while paying attention and modeling love. Last week, I was blessed to be singing The Children Will Listen with the Eno River Singers. I'm going to remind you of Sondheim's lyrics, as he encapsulates so much truth in them. Careful the things you say, children will listen. Careful the things you do, children will see and learn. Children may not obey, but children will listen. Children will look to you for which way to turn, to learn what to be. Careful before you say, listen to me. Children will listen. I'm going to close by bookending Sondheim with lyrics from Rodgers and Hammerstein's South Pacific. These lyrics have also always resonated with me since hearing my daughter sing them in a UU service years ago. You've got to be taught to be afraid of people whose eyes are oddly made, and people whose skin is a different shade. You've got to be carefully taught. The lesson for me in these two songs is that paying attention to what you say and do is as important as paying attention to what you see and hear. So thank you for listening, and please continue paying attention.
Careful the things you say, children will listen. Careful the things you do, children will see and learn. Interesting how many times this song has come up in worship this year. The thing that resonates with me in these lyrics as I begin this sermon today is this is not only true of children. It is also very true of adults. As adults, we are listening, we are seeing, we are learning, paying attention to the world around us to make sense of it. In an ideal world, in our fellowship, and in any UU congregation, ideally, we are doing an excellent job at paying attention to one another. Ideally. Now, if you know me well, if you've been around while I've run my mouth, you know I'm going to talk about the how of how we come together a lot. I'm going to bring up ideas of how we listen to one another. Are we paying attention to our impact on one another rather than just our intent? I'm going to bring up ideas like microaggressions. I'm going to bring up all the complexity of how we interact as human beings in these lives that we have. And so today, most of this sermon will not be about that. Most of this sermon is more about the why of our coming together, and specifically the Unitarian Universalism of it. And I give this sermon because sometimes I feel like we come together and we don't realize the undergirding, the history, the deep pieces of how that coming together can be Unitarian Universalist. And I'm going to use two words specifically today that I want you to listen for. They are ecclesiology and covenant. Please don't run. We're going to try and have fun. So please don't run. Some of you are excited. Some of you are like, oh my goodness, those are big words. What are we doing today? So just ecclesiology and covenant. They're going to come back. So I remember back to the first UU congregation I was part of, which was the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Springfield, Missouri. A time a probably about 100-member, maybe 70-member lay-led congregation in a strongly conservative college town, a quite large, strongly conservative college town. I remember how seen I felt there. After hanging around a bit, I ended up coming out of the closet. This was back in 2002. It's been a moment. And I ended up becoming their music director for a year and a half before I would graduate from college. The entire place just was such part of my essence in that time. And I became particularly close to two people. The office administrator, who was also doing justice outreach and connection for the congregation, and the president of the board, who was also the executive director of our local Planned Parenthood. We were all in our 20s, though they were in their later 20s and I was in my earlier. We would talk about congregational life and then go out to a club. Or we would have wonderful movie nights and talk about covenant. And sometimes we would just get together to try out a fitness video, not for the sake of fitness, but just to laugh about how some of the exercises seemed kind of absurd. And we accidentally grew something in that congregation, because sometimes we would plan an outing and we'd invite the rest of the young adults with us. There was momentum and life in what we created. We fostered a sense of community. Then I moved back to Kansas City, Missouri. It was a much larger congregation, maybe 400-ish members at that time. It was lovely in many ways. It too had momentum and movement. And I didn't quite fit. It wasn't that there weren't other young adults. There were. But when I tried to start a young adult group in the only way I knew how from my last experience, I found that most of the young adults were young coupled parents. Great people with very good needs, and also just different needs than I had. And that's okay. Different needs, different ways of coming together. It was just a different experience. And this is what I believe is one of the challenges, it points to one of the challenges of Unitarian Universalism, where I'm going to bring up another C word that's also very long that I forgot to mention to you earlier, I'm sorry, called congregationalism. So we've got congregationalism, ecclesiology, and covenant. So, Unitarian Universalists in the United States are the religious offspring of Christian Congregationalists. And that means, like, if you go back in history, who we are now descended from the Christian Congregationalists. And we hold some of the good of that and also some of the challenge. Now, we have not held on to an explicit Christian theology, not in the sense that all of our members and our clergy are not expected to hold a belief in Christianity. There are some members of our congregations who do. There are many who do not. And both of those are excellent, and both of those are welcome. But we have held on to our congregational nature. What I mean by our congregational nature is that individual UU congregations make choices about their congregation rather than a larger institution above them making the choice for them. In that way, the broad UU institution that ERUUF is a part of is more bottom-up than top-down. When there are major decisions to be made for UUs, representatives of the congregations come together at General Assembly in the summer to vote on those decisions and those essential policies and ideas, rather than having a body or a leader above us who makes those choices and passes them down. And part of the challenge and blessing is that can mean one congregation can feel quite different from another. This is not inherently bad. It gives space for growth in new ways in our tradition. And it also means when you show up in another UU congregation, it may or may not be similar to what you're used to. So why do I bring this up when considering how to pay attention to one another? I realized that when I first came into a UU space, I was looking for a place to connect that didn't have religious judgment and also felt welcoming. This is a perfectly reasonable reason to join a UU congregation. And you notice it worked better in one location than another for me. And I also wonder what's underneath that connection that is not just a social group. The social group is fine, but what's underneath it? And it makes me realize now the importance of big word number 2 in the life of our fellowship, ecclesiology. Welcome to a big word. I'm going to break it down for you. And a lot of this is from the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Ann Parker's work in her book, A House for Hope, that talks about breaking down some of these theological concepts for progressive religious and spiritual and meaning-making spaces. So ecclesiology, Parker says, is the theological theme that speaks about religious community. It asks, what is the nature and purpose of the community? What brings the community into being and holds it together? How does the community define the relationships and roles of its members? What rituals and spiritual practices align the community with what it understands as deeply meaningful? And one of the reasons I frame it in this concept of ecclesiology is because this is a structure that exists and already exists, and UUs are doing it, even if we don't always think about it. Now, all the things I mentioned as ecclesiology that Rebecca Ann Parker mentions, that could be 1,000 sermons. There's a lot there, and we're not going to jump into all of it. I will briefly say, I feel like in our worship services, and especially each year in the month of March, we do a lot of reflecting about what is the nature of our community, and what do we hope it might become. And that feels very important to our ecclesiology. Rituals and practices, also very important, and classes and sermons, there's so much of that we could discuss. But today, I want to focus more on the relationships in our community, how we do them, and what do they mean. Rebecca Parker also says, the question is not whether we are social connected beings. That is a given. The question is how we shape our modes of being with one another and with the sources that uphold and sustain life. This also connects, in my mind, to an idea that Connie Goodbread, who's a UU religious educator, what she says when she means the congregation is the curriculum. She means that everything we say and we do teaches us and teaches those outside of us what Unitarian Universalism is, both intentionally and unintentionally, for positive, for negative, for everywhere in between. All of how we come together with one another shapes how Unitarian Universalism manifests here at ERUUF. And how do we shape how we come together in ways so they uphold and sustain life? The choices in how we come together, and even the acknowledgement of the importance of the why and the how we come together, that shapes our community. And it can shape it into something more than a social club. It says that even as we have different beliefs, we are engaging each other intentionally in community and care as we grow. Now, one piece of the how we connect because it's more concrete. I realize I've been up here in Abstractville, but a bit more concrete. One phrase that you may have heard a lot, and Michael referenced, if you've been around groups at ERUUF, is deep listening or intentional listening. And this shows up in many groups as one way we come together and pay attention to one another. The idea of this type of listening is giving time to someone with no interruption to say what needs to be said so they can be more seen. In a culture where moving quickly and prioritizing our own thoughts, and that we live in that culture, this can be a shift to slow down and just listen to another person. Living in that way can be a shift. To listen to many in this way and to have them listen to you also. This happens in our covenant groups and chalice circles in a very intentional way. How many people in here have been in a covenant group or a chalice circle around here? Okay, a lot of people. So you're doing some of this already. It also happens in many of our adult program offerings, like UU Wellspring, and even topical sessions, where we might reflect on a reading or materials and each share our views. How many people in this room have been part of like a small cohort group, like looking inward, outward, and onward, or UU Wellspring, or even just a one-shot class? Yeah. So you are also doing this. So this deep listening is an excellent way for some in our community to connect with each other in more meaningful ways. But the mindfulness of how we come together with one another truly can happen everywhere. I think, of course, of the adult programs and book discussions and feedback sessions and so on. I think of fellowship hour over coffee. I'm trying to remember which Hollister brothers said it, but that joke about coffee hour being a sacrament, it's a joke, and it's also real. One time I was at an Eastern Orthodox church for their Easter service. Beautiful. The entire thing was sung by priests in 4-part harmony with a choir, walking around the outside, flinging baptismal water on us. And it all got done, and somebody said, "Are you staying for lunch?" And I said, "What?" And they said, "Lunch is the most important part." Because they came together and broke bread together. And we're just together. That's why the sacrament of fellowship hour to me is a joke, and it is also not a joke. It's also real. Anyway. Sorry, I get tickled by some of this stuff. I'm a little bit of a geek in some of this stuff. So, another essential piece of showing up and paying attention is pastoral care. Part of our pastoral care at ERUUF helps with practical needs like rides or bringing flowers, and that's great. And another important piece is giving attention and space to you when you are in distress. Distress from a grief event, distress from what is going on in our country or our world, all of it. Part of that is the visits our ministers make, but part of it that doesn't get noticed as often is our pastoral care associates. Each week after second service, one of them is at a table in the fellowship hall in case something is heavy or distressful in your life or in the world for you that day. And they are there so that you can have some attention if you need it. So you can be held for a moment. So you can be seen for a moment. They want you to stop by and talk to them deeply. And they will help hold that. And they will also let the ministers know if you want to talk more about it. They refer things back if you want. So please visit them. Please visit them in the fellowship hall if you need. Know that there's sometimes only one of them, so you might have to take turns. But they're there. And that's why we provide that. That's why we want to provide that. It's an essential part of congregational life. So please visit them. Now, this is all well and good, but for those of us who are feelings people, for our thinkers out there who are not as comfortable as being seen deeply, or for our folks who have been hurt when they tried to be seen deeply, I have good news for you. This piece of good news today comes from Adrienne Marie Brown from her book, Emergent Strategy. The good news is interdependence is iterative. I'm sorry, there's so many big words today, y'all, but there's some good big words. Interdependence is iterative. She says interdependence requires being seen as much as possible as your true self. And Brown also says that it happens in community through small, repetitive motions, through showing up, through being present, through dipping a toe into showing your true self, through practicing some interdependence and connection little by little. It can be difficult, trying, and scary at times, and also, you do not have to show up, immediately show your whole self, and feel absolutely comfortable doing it. That's not always a reasonable expectation for so many reasons. Microaggressions, past history, the world being what the world is, and how it does not encourage us always to come together in love. Sometimes our prior experiences of that. It's reasonable that sometimes it takes time. Sometimes you got to iterate into community. And UUs talk a lot about and have a very old history with something that can help us out with this. Any guess what that word's going to be? The only one I haven't mentioned yet. Thank you for letting me have a drink of water. Covenant, yes. If you have been around UUs for very long, you may have heard or engaged with the word covenant over and over again for some of you. Covenant is actually an ancient concept, friends, found in many faiths, including all the Abrahamic faith traditions. It is often in the context of a covenant between a people and a deity. However, a covenant is also an agreement or a promise between people. And in Unitarian Universalism, as it currently exists, that's where we hold that term. Now, our UU connection to the idea of covenant comes how many years back? Any guesses? Any guesses? From 1648. We are older than we think about in ways. So, it comes from 1648 when our congregational forebears, the Puritans, please don't run out of the room. The Puritans, our congregational forebears, created what was called the Cambridge Platform. These Puritans laid the foundation for our congregational polity today in reaction to a church culture that centralized power at the top of an institutional hierarchy. And within the Cambridge Platform, they created a covenant for how they would come together. Much more recent UU minister Forrest Church, may he rest in peace, paraphrases the covenant from the Cambridge Platform this way. We pledge to walk together in the ways of truth and affection as best we know them, or may learn them in the days to come. That we and our children may be fulfilled, and that we may speak to the world in words and actions of peace and goodwill. Not too bad. Strangely, for something back from 1648, that paraphrasing actually might work for many of us. Now, mind you, a lot has changed in our UU tradition since those Puritan forebears. Our theology, our beliefs, our openness to the deep lives outside the confines of theology, our views on race, gender, sexuality, so many things. Our belief that colonization is not a good thing, and more. There are many things we have left behind from those forebears, and that's a good thing. But this attention to how we come together is so important to who we are as UUs and how we come together specifically as ERUUF. Because there is no covenant of how we come together that is given to us by a larger institution or a God. Sure, we have our value statements now and our principles and sources that are still important to many of us. And all of those statements were crafted by UUs, who then came together as representatives from their congregations and voted on whether or not they wanted to pass them. And they still do not tell us how ERUUF must gather. How many of you know that we have an ERUUF covenant? Some of you, oh, I'm glad to see that many hands. Yes, 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 yes. I encourage you to find it on the website in our guiding documents. It is different than a mission or vision. It describes broadly how we aspire to interact with one another as we live into the mission and vision that we have for this organization. And that covenant is part of our ecclesiology, bringing it back together. It helps define how we come together as a people, as a congregation. I think of how essential the idea of covenant feels to me as we gather here in 2026, with hope pointed toward welcome and diversity among us. It has sometimes been said that UUs are a gathering of like-minded people. There's some truth in that, but my hope is maybe more that we are a similarly valued people, holding that our similar values can also hold very different experiences and ways of thinking, and we can welcome that. In that, covenant becomes essential, because when we have diversity, and when we have over 1,200 people involved in one institution, which is ERUUF, I can guarantee you at some point there will be conflict. Right? Like, I love y'all, and also, when you get that many people together, everybody is not going to always have a good day and agree. That's real. There will be hurt, there could be microaggressions, there could just be stepping on toes. It is not what we want. It is something that will happen. That is why so many of our teams, our small groups, and our RE spaces, in addition to that broad covenant that ERUUF has, have more specific covenants that align with that broader covenant. Now, in some cases, they feel more like a list of rules, but I find the deeper we consider the idea of covenant, the more guiding it can be within a group. There was one Wellspring group I co-led last year, and they noted that just saying it's okay to say you're hurt by something someone said, like you can do that, but it didn't feel like it was robust enough in that language for what they wanted. And it wasn't because they had conflict, they hadn't had any, but because they wanted to build space to better care for one another. And so they added words about caring for the person who was hurt and supporting them and what that might look like. And then they added language about how they could encourage acknowledgement and or accountability from the person who had created the hurt, but also how the person who had said something hurtful was also still part of community, and they wanted to give them love and care while doing so. That because there had been a toe stepped on, it did not mean somebody was sent away or excluded. It's figuring out how we all come together. Take some humility. It's not always the easiest thing. But I so value that work that they did in trying to figure out how do we hold that all together. In all of this in 2026, I see the importance of how we come together at ERUUF as part of the history of Unitarian Universalism. And I think about the impact in our lives. We do come together to be social in part, and make no mistake, it is wonderful to gather with people you enjoy. And also, the longer you are here, I hope you begin to feel tuned into the building of something larger. While you are building and growing in understanding of how you make meaning of and in this world, we as a community are practicing care and connection with one another. In the practice of that care and connection here, we are practicing what it takes to take that care for others beyond these walls, living that aspect of our tradition and encouraging others to live into the awareness and care for one another. I think of how we might be living our values while interacting on social media. Ooh. Or at the No Kings protest yesterday. How might your interactions with people, or in any activism you do, how might that interaction lead beyond? The attention we pay to how we are with each other will not make the world beautiful by itself. But living that aspect of our faith just might be the foundation we need to ground the possibilities of the future. Amen, and blessed be. There we go. It takes many resources as we weave the fabric of beloved community in our congregation. It includes the offering of our time, talent, creativity, imagination, and indeed some funding. All given as we cultivate hearts of generosity toward our mission, our vision, and our work in the world. As the greeters come forward to pass the collection pouches, you may place something in it, or we invite you to point your device to the QR code on the screen or use the QR code on one of the cards you'll find in the pew rack, which will take you directly to our online giving portal. And now the offertory.
We know this river always keeps flowing. We will be rowing our whole lives long, and we may never know where we're going, but we can go there singing a song. Just like a mother to a child she's holding, just like a soldier marching along, just like the faithful on a Sunday morning, raising our voices, singing a song. Eyes will shine but not as bright, arms will hold but not as tight, when a word is only spoken. So give it feeling, give it rhyme, sing it in 4/4 time, sing it with the heart wide open, sing of the beauty that's right there beside you, bring it inside you, making you strong, so that when trouble comes round to greet you, still it will lead you singing a song. Eyes will shine but not as bright, arms will hold but not as tight, when a word is only spoken. So give it feeling, give it rhyme,
We give thanks for all of the many gifts of beloved community, especially the gift of belonging.
Okay, our closing song is Lean on Me. It's number 1021 in your teal hymnal. You can rise in body or spirit.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those other needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. Lean on me when you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on your brother when you need a friend. We all need somebody to lean on. That's right, have a problem and you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Our closing words today are from Brenda Salgado. The plant people have taught me to be generous and not be shy about blossoming, that it is our nature. I think when others see us, it can inspire them to open up and blossom too, and we can be a field ablaze with dignity and beauty together. Amen, and blessed be.